What's going on, guys? Glad to have you back on the channel. So Boruto chapter 94 just dropped, and it's what many would refer to as a yap session. Not that I personally mind, to be honest. These exposition heavy chapters are usually some of my favorites in Boruto, mainly because they usually move the plot along more so than the action heavy chapters, and sometimes even bless us with some interesting lore and world building. So before I share my thoughts on the chapter as a whole, I guess I'll do a quick recap of what went down. So the chapter starts off and we see that Boruto is tied down in an interrogation room accompanied by Konohamaru and Ibiki. The Konoha elders are also present in the room, and Shikamaru is watching from behind the glass window. Just a classic interrogation setup. Kawaki and Damon are also being told what's going on in the room thanks to Ada's Senringan. We quickly find out that Himawari healed Boruto's wound, and that Inujin is well on his way to fully recovering thanks to Sakura's help. Konohamaru reveals that the sealing handcuffs Amado designed not only seal off Boruto's ability to use ninjutsu, meaning that escaping via space-time jutsu is completely impossible, but they're also resistant to all physical impact, meaning that Boruto can't just physically break free. Konohamaru starts off the interrogation by asking Boruto regarding the nature of the Shinju who attacked the village. Boruto reveals that they are essentially humanoid Shinju who have gained self-awareness. He also explains that unlike the other Shinju egos, Jura is a special case as he's not based on any pre-existing person, and is rather the incarnation of the Ten Tails itself. Boruto also explains that defeating Jura is likely the key to ending the crisis the world is currently facing, and also probably the key to saving all the people who had been turned into trees. Amado also surmises that the self-aware Shinju have a new instinct, which is to gain information and to learn, which is likely why they want to absorb and devour people, essentially just to assimilate their information into themselves. Konohamaru then questions where Boruto got his intel, but Boruto refuses to elaborate and says that he's protecting his source. The Konoha elders then talk a lot of shit, as they do, and then threaten Boruto's life. Then they ask him why he killed Naruto, to which Boruto reveals that Naruto and Hinata are both alive and well, and being kept safe in another location. Omnipotence is also already messing with Shikamaru's memory, and making him forget exactly why he chose to trust Boruto in the first place. However, he still chooses to keep believing him. When Boruto refuses to answer where Naruto is located, Ibiki starts torturing Boruto and beating him up. Shikamaru asks Ino for help, linking him to Boruto via her mind transmission jutsu, but Ino refuses, and Shikamaru freaks the hell out, and rightfully so, of course. But he quickly comes up with the solution of calling in Mitsuki. He gives Mitsuki the combination to unlock Boruto's cuffs, and then Mitsuki goes on in and pretends that he's losing his cool at Boruto and is essentially trying to kill him, or so it seems. But all of this was a ruse. He essentially uncuffed Boruto, and then Boruto tells everyone present in the room that he'll continue sharing information with Konoha, but only when he deems it necessary. He then teleports away and gets his belongings back. Finally, Shikamaru gets a call from Kankuro, who tells him that the Sand Village had been attacked, and that both Gaara and Shinki were defeated, with at least Shinki being turned into a tree. We then cut away to the Shinju, and we see that the newly born Shinju based on Shinki, and his name is revealed to be Ryu. And that's about it. Overall, I thought it was a pretty solid chapter. Much like most of Two Blue Vortex chapters, it was a fairly enjoyable read if I'm being honest. Let me start off with the cons. As always, the biggest issue with Boruto for me is the pacing. It's horrendous. For a monthly chapter, I feel like it's not nearly enough plot progression took place here. Barely anything happened really, and we're essentially left in the same spot story-wise, more or less. And now we'll have to wait another month to see what happens next. It is what it is, I guess. With that being said though, there was still a lot to like here. First off, I really love how TBV has been handling Shikamaru's characterization. He's finally back to being that cool-headed 200 plus IQ genius that we know and love, instead of the obnoxious hothead that he's been portrayed as for the majority of Naruto Next Generations. Him still choosing to trust his intelligence and his intuition rather than his memories, and also the way he came up with the plan to free Boruto on the fly was just really cool to see as a Shikamaru fan. On top of that, this chapter was also really funny at times. Damon shitting on Kawaki was hilarious as always. Shout out to Damon the GOAT. Boruto's clapback to Ibiki's torture was also funny as shit, man. Like, my man Boruto just absolutely ended Ibiki's career right there. It was also cool seeing Sakura again, even if it was extremely brief. It's honestly kinda wild that we still didn't see Kakashi once in the manga. Like, Ibiki of all people made an appearance before Kakashi. I mean, that's nasty work, man. Boruto showed a lot of resolve this chapter, I have to say. The fact that he didn't expose Kawaki is incredibly admirable, especially because Kawaki really doesn't deserve it at all. Speaking of which, Kawaki was also being a clown and a fraud this chapter, as always. Like, buddy, you ain't dealing with no Shinju on your own. Like, man, sit your ass down and shut the hell up, you fraud. Anyway, moving on. It was also pretty cool that we got some world building with the Sand Village stuff. The conflict with the Shinju has now widened in scope, and it's more of a global crisis now, which is pretty appropriate. I mean, it really felt pretty self-contained before, but now it's being appropriately expanded, which is cool. So in that sense, I guess the plot has moved forward ever so slightly. It's also pretty cool that we finally got confirmation that Jura isn't like the other Shinju. He's essentially the Ten Tails itself, which was pretty obvious to be fair, but it's nice to have confirmation nonetheless. So yeah, overall it was a pretty good read. I mean, I wish we had a bit more content, but it is what it is. I guess I'll give Two Blue Vortex Chapter 14 a solid 7.5 out of 10. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you thought of this chapter down below. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let me know if you'd like to see more Boruto reviews and discussions in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye bye!